What we got next, we have Miami taking on Florida State in Tallahassee. Florida State 9-0, Hurricanes now 6-3. I want to preview this game a little bit.
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. Florida State, we talked about Georgia being balanced. I went through the numbers, Georgia offensively and defensively, right? Florida State, one of the most balanced teams in the country. Points per game, 7th on offense. Points per game given up, 10th. Yards per game, 16th. Yard per games given up, top 30. Opponent points per play, top 7 defensively. Points per play on offense, number 6. Yards per play, they're 7th in the country. Opponent yards given up per play, top 30. It's a complete team. Mm-hmm. They didn't play with Keon Coleman or Johnny Wilson last year against Pitt. I know it was ugly, but here's what I like about Florida State. You know who Florida State is? They're LSU with a defense, in my opinion. Look at the way the team's made up. Jordan Travis and Jaden Daniels. Both guys can scramble, be very effective, throwing and running, right? Can beat you from the pocket, make good decisions, right? Have quick twitch. Offensive line, I would say LSU's offensive line is a little bit better than Florida State's, right? But Benson is a good back. They're able to run the ball. On the outside, who does LSU have? Brian Thomas Jr., right? Malik Neighbors. Well, look at FSU. Who do they got? Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, the Giraffe. LSU, Mason Taylor at tight end. Florida State, Jaheim Bell at tight end. This team is LSU with a defense, and it's a dadgum good defense, too. They're sticky in the back end. Jared Verse and these guys up front. It's Florida State up front. When I look at Miami, look, and I know it's a rivalry game, because, and I get it. I was born in the fires of the Iron Bowl, man. I know teams punch above their weight, but I'm looking at this Miami team right now. Tyler Van Dyke, last 2 games, 5 interceptions, no touchdowns. They're talking about putting a sophomore or a freshman in there. They're not going to do that on the road at Florida State unless, just somebody gets hurt or the games, there's no doubt left. I just don't see a way in which Miami goes into Tallahassee and scores enough points. Not that Miami's not good. I like Miami's defense. Mm-hmm. I think they're physical. I like Miami's young offensive line. Tyler Van Dyke isn't throwing interceptions because he's getting pressured every single play. Mm-hmm. He's making bad decisions. And I will take the team with better players that make smarter, more efficient decisions over the team with worse players that puts the ball in harm's way at the quarterback position. So I think Miami may fight them early, but I think Florida State, at the end of the day, they run with it.
So, Blaine, this was one of the biggest college football games of the season when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. Granted, I was a Florida State fan, but still, Miami-Florida State was always the matchup you wanted to check out. Hasn't meant that much in the college football landscape for the past decade plus. Now, all of a sudden, we have a Florida State team that's undefeated. Miami is taking a knee against Georgia Tech away from being 7-2. The game is in Tallahassee, but the spread's 14.5 right now. Over under 50.5. You were talking about, we saw what Tyler Van Dyke was able to do against Texas A&M, right? Early in the season, looked like he was playing better. You were talking about there were calls to put the freshman quarterback in.
We all know, go out drinking with your buddies, getting ready for the game. That next morning, you can be hurting a little bit. All right, I don't have to sit here and write a dissertation or a thesis on what I'm talking about. Especially, we got Monday night games, Thursday night NFL games. We now have college basketball. We got MACtion tonight. However you get down, like I said, having some beer with the boys can lead to some not-so-fun mornings when you have to get up to go to work the next day. That's where Z-Biotics comes into play. What is Z-Biotic? It's a pre-alcohol probiotic, and I'm going to make it even simpler for you. You drink this before you go drink, all right? And you don't feel as bad the next day. It works, I promise you. It is a modern-day miracle. This is not snake oil. This is the honest-to-God truth. We've used it before. It is fantastic because when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, which I did not know, David. I thought it was dehydration that made you, not feel great the next day. And Z-Biotics fights this byproduct. It produces an enzyme that breaks it down. That's as smart as I can get into it. I'm not a scientist. I just talk about sports for a living. Again, it does make you feel better the next day. So go to zbiotics.com. That's zbiotics.com/booster to get 15% off your first order with code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, which you won't be, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's zbiotics.com/booster. Use the code BOOSTER at checkout for 15% off your first order. Doesn't matter if you're in college, doesn't matter if you're 38 years old and got 3 kids at the house. Trust me, this is a very, very useful product for you and the rest of the adults.
Look, I got on Twitter and I saw a lot of Miami fans calling for the other guy at quarterback. And look, after Van Dyke's last couple of performances, I mean, I get it. You got to give the best player to give you the best chance to win. I haven't really watched the kid play, so I don't know. I don't know how much.
He hasn't really.
I don't know how much it's going to help against this football team. I think Florida State's a playoff football team. I think they're good enough to win the national championship. If you're Miami in this game, you're going to not only have to get to Jordan Travis, but you're going to have to get him on the ground. What's the health of Johnny Wilson? Trey Benson's a top 10 pick. Miami just has to get up for this football game, especially their secondary. If there's anything I like on this football team in Miami, is their secondary wants to hit you, and they want to hit you all the time. They play pretty good one-on-one coverage as well. We'll see in this game. I like Florida State. I like Florida State to cover when they didn't cover against Pitt. And what's the standard on Johnny Wilson? How healthy is he? Is he playing in this game? Because y'all remember, he's doing this. Jordan Travis is doing this without Johnny Wilson. You have Benson, who's a great player. You got pieces. But rivalry games are always weird, man. It's always weird. We saw it with Texas and Oklahoma. Guys get up for, teams will get up for this game. And I wouldn't be surprised. There's no way Van Dyke comes out and has another bad performance like he did the last couple of weeks. There's no way. I think he has, 4 interceptions and no touchdowns?
Five interceptions. But what makes you think that, though? Like, going to Florida State all of a sudden makes you
I think because
better?
It's a rivalry game. That's why I think it. I think guys get up for these games.
If it were in Miami, it'd be a lot more interesting because Florida State struggled with Boston College on the road. Pitt played them tight on the road. They're a little bit different in Tallahassee.
Look, I'm telling you right now, I'm afraid this number is going to go up. It's at 14.5 right now. Florida State's 14.5 point favorite. I like it at 13.5. Here's Emory Williams on the year. All right, is 36 of 48, 295 yards. He's got 1 touchdown. He's 1 interception, right? I don't think you can go into this game and sit here and say, all right, Emory Williams, here's Florida State. Here's one of the best teams in the country on the road. Go lead us to a win. I think you're playing with fire there. Now, if Van Dyke comes out and turns the ball over a couple times early, eventually you do got to make a move because you got to try and give your team some sort of a chance. But what worries me about Van Dyke, again, he is turning the ball over, and it's not like it is just bombs over Baghdad up front. Like, he's making bad decisions. As an old guy, he's making it earlier in the year, and maybe Texas A&M does this for you, right? And this is before he got beat up. He wasn't making these bad decisions. The only way I see Miami winning this game is if Florida State just totally plays the opposite the way they played and has an awful game, which can happen. You're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. Or the weather is awful. If I'm Miami, I am praying for rain. I am praying for a monsoon. I am praying for so much water on the field, I have to paddle my ass to the quarterback because that's the only way. Because I'm going to tell you how this game's going to go. I think Miami comes out and gets a couple stops early. I think this game is low scoring for about a quarter and a half, maybe a quarter and a half. But at some point, Florida State is going to figure it out because Jordan Travis in this offense is just too good not to figure it out. They're too experienced not to figure it out. And all this effort that Miami's going to give on defense to stop them in the first half, it's just going to chip at them and chip at them and chip at them. And the second half, it's going to snowball, and Florida State's going to win by 17 or more. That's the way I see this.
I just looked at weather. It's going to be 70 and sunny.
Yeah,
70 and sunny. Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah. But we say that. I mean, who knows? It's by the beach. I mean, if you're growing up by the beach, I mean, who the hell knows? It could be an ice storm and then a heat wave right after it.
Florida is weird.
Hey, YouTube, thanks for stopping by. As a guy in the jean jacket, I obviously know what I'm talking about. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn that notification bell on so you know when we're dropping content. Basketball season just got here as well. Join the party.